Are you looking for the best CPU cooler? In this video, we will look at some of the 5 best CPU cooler on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description, so make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. Noctua NH-D15. The Noctua NH-D15 is a huge air cooler consisting of two 140mm fans and 2 heatsinks with compatibility for both AMD and Intel sockets. Despite its drab brown and beige color scheme, Noctua's signature look, it's the best air cooler in the business, with whisper-quiet operation and temperatures almost identical to some custom water cooling solutions under full loads. The 2 main caveats with this cooler are that it's expensive for an air cooler, though still a lot cheaper than top-tier AIO liquid coolers. And again, it's huge. Make sure to check the CPU cooler height clearance of your case, your memory height, and be aware that it won't make for a clean, airy, RGB-filled interior to your PC. It'll fill the thing with beige and brown. Nonetheless, if you've got the room and you're a fan of beige, or your case doesn't have a side window or isn't on show, this is a really top-quality piece of hardware that stands on the shoulders of countless previous generations of Noctua coolers. Its cable splitter helps you to avoid clutter, and it's really simple to install and set up. Even on high-end CPUs, it can handle extended multi-threaded workloads, so it more than deserves its spot on the top of this list. Number 2. Thermalright Peerless Assassin. The Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120SE RGB is our go-to recommendation for a CPU cooler that will suit most mid to high-end gaming PCs. If you're rocking a 6 to 12-core gaming CPU, such as the AMD Ryzen 790-800X3D or Intel Core i5-14600K, it's a great choice. The Cooler Master Hyper 212 can deal with lower and mid-range chips, but the greater cooling power of the Peerless Assassin is a better choice for more powerful CPUs. This dual fan and dual heatsink cooler can cope with a rated heat output of 265W, which is ample for some very powerful CPUs, though it can't quite deal with the 300W plus of an Intel Core i9-14900K. Nonetheless, for the CPUs to which it's suited, it provides its ample cooling with low noise in normal use. It's not the absolute quietest cooler around. Look to the Noctua NH-D15 for that, but it's still quiet enough for most systems. All this in this simple, cheap cooler looks reasonably smart thanks to the black top plates on its heat sinks and the addition of RGB fans. Installing the 4 cables, 2 each per fan, and reaching down between the heat sinks with a long screwdriver to attach the cooler isn't the easiest, but it's no worse than similar dual-stack designs. The main reason to consider an alternative to this cooler is if you have a really high-end CPU or want the spacious look of an AIO cooler. Dual-fan air coolers like this inherently take up a lot of room in your case and look a bit boring, RGB notwithstanding. If you don't mind this, though, the Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120SE RGB is an absolute bargain of a CPU cooler. Number 3. Cooler Master Hyper 212 Halo White. The Cooler Master Hyper 212 Halo White is an ideal choice of CPU cooler for those on a budget. If you've equipped your system with a sensible 4 to 8 core CPU with a TDP of 105W or less, such as the AMD Ryzen 5 7600X, it has enough cooling power to keep these mid-range chips in check while remaining quiet and costing very little. It's really easy to get it installed, and it's compatible with all current AMD and Intel systems, plus a broad selection of older models. You'll often find that its fan reaches 2,000 revolutions per minute during gaming sessions. But the good news is that it manages to stay pretty quiet, even when it's pushed to its limits. Meanwhile, its single 4-pin PWM cable will power the lighting and the fan at the same time, so you don't need to worry about factoring additional cables in if you like a bit of RGB. However, if you don't enjoy RGB lighting, then you may be disappointed that its inclusion on this cooler does hike up the cost, though there are cheaper, RGB-less alternatives available. All things considered, if you're after a cooler that's small, cheap, quiet, and gets the job done, this is the one for you. Just be aware of its 180W max TDP, which won't be enough for higher-end CPUs. Number 4. Arctic Freezer 7X. If you don't have a huge amount of money to spend, then the Arctic Freezer 7X is a great CPU cooler for a very affordable price. It might only cost $22.99, but we found it can handle a surprising amount of CPU heat. If you're just looking for a basic CPU cooler for a Core i5/Core Ultra 5 or Ryzen 5 system, or you're looking to replace your stock cooler with a model that's quieter and more powerful, then the Freezer 7X is the one for you. Veterans of PC hardware might recall this cooler's name from the olden days, when the Arctic Freezer 7 Pro was a classic, all-purpose cooler, and the Freezer 7X is similarly impressive. It's remarkably quiet, even when its fan is spinning at its full speed of 2,000 revolutions per minute, and it even managed to handle our overclocked 8-core Ryzen 7 CPU in our tests. This isn't a cooler for a 16-core monster CPU, and you'll get more cooling power by spending more money, but this budget buy is ideal for a CPU with a 65 WTDP. With the Freezer 7X, you can say goodbye to your noisy stock cooler and build a quiet PC, all for just $22.99. Number 5. Noctua NH-L9 series. First, we need to explain why we haven't chosen a specific model here, like with the other listings. That's because there are several versions of the NH-L9. The NH-L9I will fit Intel sockets, and the NH-L9A will fit AMD sockets, but both models have the same fundamental heatsink and fan design. We tested the NH-L9A model, and were really impressed by the cooling power of this mini heatsink and fan setup. It had no trouble keeping a 12-core AMD Ryzen 9 7900 in check, which is a great achievement for a low-profile cooler. It comes with a single 92mm Noctua fan, which usually runs quietly, although it can make a fair bit of noise if you stress test your CPU to the limit on all cores. A low noise adapter is also included to spin the fan at a lower speed, and in our tests, this still gave the cooler enough power to enable our Ryzen 9 7900 to boost to its full boost speed.